What? Oh my gosh, I was shitting myself. I was so fucking nervous. What the fuck? Oh, holy shit. Okay. 2 out of 3 technology trilogy levels done. It's been 4 years since I beat Cybernetic, so it's about time to get around to these levels. This level is so fun. I really did enjoy this. So my overall attempt count is 9,445 attempts. However, I did have 3,281 attempts, which were from like 2020. So my true attempt count is 2164, which I'm very happy about. That's a very good attempt count for Digital Descent because this level is hard, man. Very happy with that, especially for my first extreme in like 2.5 months. That feels really damn good. I'm so glad to say that I managed to pull through with this level tonight. I was not expecting the fluke from 74, but holy shit, dude. God, that felt really damn good. Digital Descent by Viprin. This is yet another bucket list level of mine for several reasons this time. Back in 2018, whenever I first joined the community, this was actually my favorite extreme demon in the game, or one of my favorite extreme demons in the game, along with like Spatial Ren and stuff like that. I absolutely adore the song. Carnivores by Creo is so good. And I love the deco, and I love the way that this level progressed with the song. Like, I love Digital Descent back then. To this day, Digital Descent is still one of the coolest levels, both from its time and in general. I just really like Digital Descent. So obviously it was going to be a level that I would come around and beat eventually. Not only that, but it's also a part of the Technology Trilogy, and as a lot of you may know, back in 2021, I beat Cybernetic Crescent as a hardest, and it's still currently one of my favorite levels of all time. So eventually I had to come around and finish off this trilogy, and you know, after taking 2 months off the game to focus on school was finally starting to calm down for me, and I figured the best way to come back to this game would be with something a little harder. So I decided that it's finally about time I finish off this trilogy. So I hopped right into Digital Descent, and that also means that I will be doing Artificial Ascent as my next project. I will be starting that, I think, tomorrow, actually. And overall, Digital Descent's a level that's always scared me, mainly due to Devon and Etzer. I mean, a lot of you know how infamous those two parts are and how difficult they are for this level. And let me go ahead and talk about those accusations, because they're right. Devon and Etzer are brutal in this level. However, and I really didn't expect to say this, Digital Descent is quite a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this level. I'm going to actually talk about the level now. I'm going to split it into 3 segments. The first segment I'm going to talk about is the first 40%. Everything up to Devon's part. The first 40% of Digital Descent basically poses no difficulty. All the parts are pretty easy. They're all ultra consistent. There's really nothing notable to say about it. I mean, the pre-drop is super consistent. You can basically do it every single attempt, which is always something that I appreciate. I love being able to just get to the drop of levels literally every attempt. And even the parts in the drop were all like super consistent, like Abstract Dark, Samifying, Manix, Viprin. They were all super consistent, and I never really had any issues with them. That being said, there were issues that I had with Samifying and Manix specifically outside of the realm of the level, and that has to do with 2.2 bugs. Both of these parts were pretty brutally messed up by 2.2. Nothing game-breaking. The level wasn't impossible by any means. The dual wave in Manix was absolutely broken by 2.2, and then Samifying is like the slope and the blue orb timings were super weird because of 2.2 because of the orb priority. So basically those parts were pretty inconsistent at times for reasons that were outside of Digital's control. It was pretty annoying, but I was still able to keep a high head knowing that it's not Digital's fault, it's 2.2's fault. So I was able to push those issues aside for the most part. That being said, the day that I beat this level, an update dropped that actually fixed every single 2.2 issue with Samifying and Manix. Yeah, all the 2.2 bugs within Manix and Samifying are completely patched now, so any issues that I would have had with the first 40% are now nullified. It's fixed. So it is a little disappointing because I think I actually would have enjoyed this level a lot more if I didn't have to deal with those 2.2 bugs, but it's not a massive deal. I still like the level. I wish I could have had that smoother experience because it was kind of annoying at times. But yeah, overall, the first 40% is really engaging. I didn't find it super boring like a lot of other people did, and honestly, it was pretty fun. Like it never left me like bored out of my mind. I always had a great time playing it. Now I'm going to talk about what is, in my opinion, the hardest section of the level. There's 4 parts in this section. There is Devon, Etzer, obviously, Lugia, and Laser Blitz. Let's just hop into the 2 infamous parts. Devon's part is what I will call by far the hardest part of this level. Devon's cube isn't too bad. The timings are pretty tight, but it's a pretty concrete click pattern, and once you figure out how the part works, you can pretty much do the cube every single attempt. The wave is where this part gets absolutely absolutely ridiculous. That wave is insane. At first, it genuinely felt impossible, but the weirdest thing is that that wave actually gets insanely consistent, to the point where I rarely died to it at the end. Like, I basically passed it every single attempt. While I would definitely call Devon harder than Etzer's part, Devon's part just has a crap ton of consistency, which actually makes his part relatively enjoyable. Devon's part's great, actually. I found it extremely satisfying despite its difficulty. Now, Etzer's parts, I have some more complaints with. I'll go ahead and say it. The 50 wave choke point is one of the most heinous choke points in any level I've ever played. I'm going to show you my death info, and you're going to see a massive spike in the graph where 50% is. That's the wave choke point. I had about a 50% pass rate with that wave choke point, which honestly is pretty good, but the issue with that is that the vast majority of my attempts past the wave, I just choked to Etzer. Etzer's part is not too bad other than the wave choke point, but it's just awkward and kind of weird. The moment I got past the wave, I'd kind of freak out like, oh my gosh, I have a chance, and then I'd instantly choke at like the spider or the robot's clicks or something. I really didn't hate Etzer's part though. Like, it was fine. It wasn't like amazing or anything, but I definitely had a decent time playing through it once I finally managed to get the wave choke point down. Despite those pretty decent things I just said about the part, that wave choke point is absolutely brutal. So yeah, the rumors about that wave choke point are definitely true. It kicked my ass. Now, Lugia's part, no one really talks about Lugia's part. I actually feel like people underrate this part because Lugia's part was one of the harder parts of the level for me. I found it harder than Galvatron. Like, the ship transition out of the UFO in Lugia's part is actually pretty difficult. Luckily, I'm pretty good at ships, so I never really had to worry about it. The stuff later on wasn't too bad, but like, that ship is pretty tough, man. It was surprising how hard that part was. It's mainly just like an inconsistency type thing. Eventually, Lugia's part, I was able to do it every attempt, but at first it posed a pretty big problem for me. Laser Blitz's part was just really bad on nerves. The stress of getting past Etzer's part would really get to me with this level, and it just caused me to constantly lose runs of Laser Blitz's part. But yeah, Laser Blitz's part isn't bad or anything. It's mainly just a personal experience why I struggle with Laser Blitz so much. Now we're moving on to the third section of the level, which is Galvatron to 100. I was told by a lot of people that Galvatron is incredibly hard in this level, but honestly, Galvatron didn't pose that much of an issue for me. Like, it was always really consistent in runs, and I only died to it like 4 times from 0. And even then, I never struggled with the parts that people told me I was going to struggle with. I was told that the ship where you hold and release over a spike pillar is by far the hardest part of Galvatron. I never died to that from 0. And again, that's probably because of my ship skill. I do not struggle with ship sections in this level. I don't know, it was still kind of nice not to have to struggle with that part too much. I actually found the spider to be the hardest part of Galvatron's part, which is definitely a skill issue, but I mean, that's how I felt. Other than that, Carmel's part didn't pose much of an issue for me, so I have nothing much to say there. And as for the ending part, none of it's really bad. It's all pretty fair and pretty consistent, except for Heinz's part. Heinz's part is the only part of this level that I really just did not like. From the moment I started playing it, Heinz's part I found to be incredibly annoying. The timings in his part just never felt natural. There were a lot of off-screen buffer clicks, which I found to be very awkward and very annoying to die to, because I would die to them quite often. So yeah, I just really didn't like Heinz's part, but other than that, Galvatron to 100 it's fine. I enjoyed it for the most part. Doing runs to 100 on this level was like really satisfying. I even managed to fluke this level from 74%, which, believe it or not, was not expected. I was really expecting a Heinz death or two in there, but now I managed to fluke that from 74. I got past Galvatron's part for the first time and I just locked in, which is awesome to say. So yeah, I got really lucky with this level. I only had like 15 attempts past Etzer. I only got to Galvatron's part 5 times in total, so that goes to show you just how lucky I got with this level. But yeah, overall, Digital Descent, while being incredibly unbalanced, I really liked it. It was ridiculously consistent from start to end. If you have patience with it, I honestly think it's a good time. Obviously, you got to keep in mind things like the choke points are absolutely ridiculous in this level. It is mainly choke point carried, so you got to be very well aware of that. I also would imagine that doing this as a hardest or like something in your top 3 would be pretty rough, but for me, since it's like my 17th hardest or something like that, it really wasn't too much of an issue. I beat it in like 6,000 attempts too, so that is like ridiculously good for me just coming back to the game after a 2-month break. Yeah, overall, it's a blast to play. I really enjoyed it, and it's definitely a close second for my favorite level in the trilogy. Cybernetic was still my favorite of the trilogy. I really don't know if any of them are going to beat it because I just think Cybernetic Crescent is so cool, but Digital Descent is a very good level. I would highly recommend it if you're interested. As for difficulty, I definitely found this harder than Catalyze and Diamond Disco. I found this level pretty damn hard. It's totally easier than Lucid Chaos though, so I think I have a pretty common opinion of this level. So yeah, other than that, nothing really interesting to say about the difficulty. It's pretty tough. I will absolutely give it that. But yeah, other than that, it feels really good to say that I've finish off Digital Descent. Like, this is a level that I've wanted to complete for, like, ever since I started this game. It's one of those levels like Bloodlust or Sonic Wave where I never thought I'd be able to beat it, but now I have, and it feels really damn good. It feels really damn good, especially with that fluke. It felt absolutely incredible whenever I managed to fluke this from 74%. So, but yeah, Artificial Sin is up next, and I am really excited for it. So, I will see y'all when I finish up the trilogy. But yeah.